NZXT and I have an interesting history, to say the least. But they recently released something so weird but interesting at the same time, I just had to check it out. A subscription-based gaming PC. Because the year is 2024, indeed. Okay, so here it is, NZXT Flex. It's something so weird, I just had to check it out and see exactly how it works. So as you can see, there's 3 different models you can choose from here. Either a $59 one, a $119 per month now, or a $169 per month. Also, not like it matters, but they're still using the old green AMD logo here for some reason. Okay, anyway, back to the question at hand. What on earth are you getting with the Player 3 Flex over here to make it worth $170 a month? Okay, well actually let's start with the Player One. So here you get a i5 2400F, an RTX 3050, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 500 gig NVMe SSD. Definitely not the greatest thing in the world, not even 32 gigs of RAM, a 2-gen old CPU, and only 500 gigs of storage, which is like what? One Call of Duty game nowadays. Then moving up to Player 2, here we get a Ryzen 5600X, interesting, an RTX 4070, once again 16 gigs of RAM, and also upgrade to a 1TB NVMe, though it doesn't say if it's like Gen 3 or Gen 4, whatever. Though let's be honest, I don't really care if they cheap out on Gen 3 drives, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. And then finally you get the Player 3 with a 3700KF, an RTX 4070 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM finally, and 1 TB of NVMe SSD storage still. Now, one thing I already noticed that there's like no customization apart from just the color you want. So for example, if I wanted more storage, because let's be honest, 500 gigs is a joke in 2024, would I be able to just like add in my own hard drives? Because I assume that's what a lot of people do. I mean, I can't really see anything about it, and there isn't even like an FAQ section here about it as far as I can tell, which is kind of weird. It does confirm that it's pretty much a month-to-month cancel anytime thing with no cancellation fee or anything. So it isn't like Xbox All Access where you're paying off essentially an Xbox Series X or S. Here, it's a subscription in the purest form. So for example, you can just borrow this PC for a month and then afterwards you have to return it. So you don't own this PC at any point basically, which is kind of dystopian, but at the same time, hey, if you want to save a buck and you just don't have the money for a full-on PC, I guess it could kind of work. Oh, okay, here's something I was wondering about. Guaranteed upgrades every 2 years. So it's basically like a modern version of, okay, are you guys old enough to remember those never obsolete E-machines from way back when? Okay, I say old enough. I'm 22 and the only reason I know about them is just because of tech nerds, social osmosis, but still. Granted, it doesn't really say what you get upgraded to every 2 years, but that's kind of, you know, because we don't even know what hardware will be available in 2 years' time. So we just have to kind of take the word for it. It's going to be something good and worthwhile to keep up the subscription. But now I guess we have to figure out exactly if it's even worth it and basically how much it's going to cost you. Okay, so if we go buy here, for the Player One, it costs $830 versus $60 per month on Flex. Let me just quickly do some maths here. Okay, so it's basically going to take pretty much 14 months worth of payments to pay off this piece. But again, you're not really paying it off because it isn't a financing or anything. So you can imagine that after those 14 months, you're essentially just paying towards that next upgrade you'll be getting in, you know, 10 months time or so. The Player 2 Flex will take you about 13 months of payments before you reach the price of buying it outright, and the same for the Player 3 as well. However, you know, clearly there is some stuff to consider. First of all, as you can see here when I'm just buying, you have a bunch of different configurations you can do, plenty of different things. Here you're just stuck with just the one config it ships with. So again, I have no idea what a policy is like for doing anything to it. I assume you can't just, I don't know, like throw in custom water cooling or replace the graphics card outright. I mean, I guess if you don't get caught, I guess everything's fair game, especially for things like storage or memory. I can't really imagine how you'd really go about it any other way apart from doing some upgrades yourself. Because for example, 16 gigs may not be enough and you have some spare DIMMs laying around, and you know, storage wise, a lot of people just port over their old drives to newer PCs anyway. Please don't tell me I'm gonna have to read the fine print here. Wait a second, for each rental device, subscribers must purchase insurance to the maximum extent? Wait, what? Am I reading this right? You need to buy the insurance for it yourself? I'd assume insurance is just included in the price, but by the wording of it, I don't think so. In that case, that could add, quite a bit to the monthly cost as well. Also, another thing of note, that if you want to switch or upgrade, that's going to be a $100 fee as well. Okay, this is just fascinating to me as a service, because there is definitely some instances where I could see this being super useful if you just need a PC for a short amount of time and you don't plan on keeping it long term, or if you just want to test something out, test if certain parts or like certain components are at the level of performance you need, it could work. However, as this kind of long-term solution for this kind of, 2+ years until you get upgrades, is it worth it in this time of all of the financing services we have? Between stuff like PayPal Credit, Klarna, and I'm pretty sure even like stuff like Amazon offer their own financing nowadays, stuff like this doesn't have that kind of advantage in those situations, especially seeing how you end up owning that PC, and here, you don't really own it, but you get upgrades. But again, I can't even really figure out how much upgrading you're allowed to do by yourself and stuff like that. Now, granted, with financing, you have to have a pretty good, credit reputation. And for example, someone like I, who could very easily afford a finance PC and make these payments a month, no bank would really believe me because of, the fact I don't really take a proper salary and stuff like that and whatnot. While with, something like a subscription, I assume they don't do those kind of credit checks here because again, it's a subscription, not any kind of financing or lending service. Like, this is just such a strange but interesting concept to me, And NZXT, because I know you watch these videos, let me know if I missed anything big, because like I said, I'm super curious about it. It's such an interesting thing, and let me know if you're watching at home if this is something you'd use yourself. But definitely also check out our Patreon, because that is a subscription that's always objectively worth it. Plus huge thanks to Gavin Burns, Justin Rage, Ella Ronyak, Dev Panda, Badish Belka, Patrick Harrison, Not a Pseudonym, Meg Sumner, Shane Allcroft, Lansby, and Level Up. But anyway, that's what it's. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye everyone. Goodbye.